All right, so here we go. We are going to start. So I'm going to start by just giving you the very high level overview when it comes to the program schedule and content, and then we'll turn to the alumni. And certainly if you have any questions along the way, feel free to raise your hand and we will have you jump on in. This is meant to be a good conversation and informal. All right, so just 1 second here. All right, so the schedule for the program. So this is an 8-month program. The program will start in October at the Fall Conference and Expo, and it will run through next May through the annual conference. So we will have and all the sessions are in person. The first session, as I said, will be on October 5th during the kickoff for the Fall Conference. Then we will have sessions approximately every 6 weeks. They will be full day sessions, starting with the first one in November, and then it'll run straight through until May. You see, in addition to the 3 sessions we'll have in Richmond, there will also be a session in January in Northern Virginia. Looks like right now it'll be probably in the Stafford region, so not quite all the ways up to, you won't have to drive to Arlington or Falls Church, but it'll be up in Northern Virginia. Any questions on the schedule, the timing of the classes? Okay. So in terms of the pillars, the program is set up very uniquely. It's a combination of specialty areas of association management, but as well, it has a significant leadership component to it, and that is blended in. And Carter's going to, in a minute, is going to talk about the leadership component to it. In terms of the association management side, and I should say, while it's association management, these topics are very valuable to those who are working, supporting the associate industry, like our hotel hospitality partners, because it really gives you a good understanding of what it means to be in an association, how associations run and operate. And so I know previously we had at least 1 or 2 folks who participated in the program who were not in the association space, but maybe Jeff Schmidt, who's on the call, can talk a little bit about that since he's moved from the association side. But the 4 pillars, the non-leadership pillars, the 4 other topic areas: membership and non-dues revenue. So that's going to be talking about membership growth. It's going to be talking about retention, engagement strategies with your members. In terms of non-dues revenue, you're going to talk about things like sponsorship, advertising, partner programs. So all the components related to membership. Also this year, we're going to be adding a DEI component will be weaved through several of these pillars. So in HR and finance, we'll talk about what it means to be kind of the HR team and running that component of the association. But again, we're also going to have in there about managing and having a diverse and inclusive workforce. And then you will also be focusing on the finance side of associations, which are a little bit different than the for-profit world. So that'll give you a good sense of what budgeting and finance are from an association perspective. In terms of program and volunteer management, this will be how to create programs. A lot of us have had to deal over the last couple of years with having to do hybrid programs or virtual programs. So you'll get some knowledge on that. You'll also get information and knowledge on meeting planning, how to on that component of running association. And then you'll also get there'll be topics covered in terms of volunteer and board management engagement with your board members. And then advocacy and community. Now I know not everybody does advocacy, but this is a really great thing to be able to see kind of how things happen in Richmond. It's a great experience. I know, and the alumni can talk about this, that those who have participated and done the Hill Days at the legislature really gotten a lot out of it. And then there's also going to be community. So it's going to be learning your communication skills and how do you do public speaking and things, how you deal with media, et cetera. So you're going to get all of that throughout these 4 pillars. And then I'm just going to show you a sample session agenda just so you can see kind of how a typical class would run. And then I'll turn it over to Carter to talk about the leadership component. So the program is split up into a couple parts. The program usually begins with the leadership development part that is run by Tom and Melissa Lawton from Catch Your Limits. Then there's a break, and then we go into the subject, get the SME component to it. And those are usually led by someone from the association community. Usually a VSA member will lead the discussion on these various topics. I'm going to stop with that because I think the class can actually give you a little bit better some of the things like the leadership journey presentations and some of the other components. So I'm going to save that for them to actually give their real life experience on how that works. Any questions on and I know I'm going through this quickly. In part, this information is on the website. I also want to make sure we have time for you all to ask questions. Okay, Carter, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about the leadership development part.
Okay, thanks, Terry. So as Terry was mentioning, all of the association pieces of it, and that really is what makes this program unique, sets it apart from all of the other leadership programs out there to choose from. It really does dive into the association specific content, which is a little bit different, obviously, than nonprofit leadership or just generic leadership programs. This really does have a really nice blend. The leadership piece specifically is also really powerful. Tom and Melissa do an absolutely fantastic job. They live and breathe leadership. They work with organizations of all sizes and types across the country. And I think possibly even they have some international clients. I mean, their breadth of experience is pretty incredible. And they are so down to earth and so absolutely authentic and wonderful that you can't be around them and not learn from them. It's just not possible. They are just constantly teaching. And so the leadership piece of it is really interesting because they base their leadership development instruction on a book by Pat Lencioni, and it's called The Advantage. And so, people ask me, is there a lot of work to be done outside of the sessions? And there's really not. The biggest assignments that you'll have are keeping up with the reading in this book, and you'll read it throughout the session. So it's not like you have to, come prepared and have it read by the first session. It's broken up into very manageable chunks. And part of the reason that they do that is because, as we all know, leadership development is constantly evolving. And if you're just reading about it and not putting it into practice, you're not really getting true leadership development. And so with the leadership piece, you read it prior to arriving at your session, you have a conversation about it. And then the goal is to then go back to your association and work it in and try it and put it into practice. And the same is true with the association specific content. This entire program is built around, we want you to be able to use it, put it to work right away. And then the best part is you come back and you talk about how it went when you put it into practice, and you have a coaching session basically with not only Tom and Melissa, but with peers from across the association world. And so I'm sure you will get a flavor of that as the rest of the alumni start chiming in about, the opportunities to say, hey, I have this particular problem. I'm facing this hurdle. Can anybody give me their input? There's a great opportunity to share ideas. You go back, you put it to work, and then you don't even have to wait until the next session. It's a great chance to call somebody and be like, hey, I tried that. It really didn't work. Any thoughts or ideas? It's a very safe space, really does allow you to grow as a leader. And I would also say, along with the leadership piece, the opportunity, like I mentioned before, to learn from each other. Class 1, and I know class 2, were basically made up of people with all different experience levels, all different roles and responsibilities, all different association sizes. We had state associations and local associations and national associations. And so the opportunity to learn how to lead in the association space really, I got more out of it than I ever expected to. And I mean, leadership, I could sit here and talk to you about this all day. So it really does get me excited. And I got more out of it than I ever anticipated that I would. So the leadership specific component is, it starts with, the textbook, specifically The Advantage. It starts with the fundamental principles, you build on developing trust, and you do that within the class. And it's modeled for you about how to develop trust within your class, but then also how to go back and take that to your own association. And it's just really tried and true best practices. It's very applicable. I can't say enough good things about it.
Thank you, Carter. And I'm going to flip to the sample agenda here. If you would just take a moment to just, and other alumni, feel free to jump in as well, about the leadership journey presentations.
Yes. So one of the things that, Terry, we can't actually see the agenda right now. It's still the PowerPoint slide. While you're pulling that up, I can tell you, one of Tom and Melissa's biggest messages is that leadership truly is a journey, and that you are leaders from the time that you walk into that room, whether you are day one of your career or you are in your 35 and have a wealth of experience. Every single person in that room is a leader. And one of the things that they had us create were our leadership journey presentations. And this brought such color and flavor to our class. This was one of the best ways that we got to know our peers. And the idea is really for each of us for us to go back and reflect on opportunities that we were leaders in our lives before and how that has gotten us to where we are, lessons that we have learned, and even where we're headed. And so every single one, I think there were 9 of us in class 1. Every single one of us had an entirely different leadership journey. I am sure that is the same for class 2, because what it really emphasized was, you're leaders in your own right. You're leaders in every aspect of your life. And each of your journeys is different just because of who you are as a person. And so it was a really powerful thing to even just individually sit back and reflect on my own leadership journey, but then to hear everyone else's was pretty incredible. Other alumni want to contribute to that?
So I'll jump in. I think when I first heard about the leadership journey piece, I was kind of like, great, something for me to do, fantastic. They were powerful to hear. Like Carter, I don't know about class 1, but for class 2, these were not kind of on the surface. Like, these are the jobs that I had. Like, it was really like people went back to things like family and childhood, and they were just really kind of strong and emotional pieces. And I think that was one of the things that helped our class sort of to bond, even during, our class got interrupted by the pandemic. But I still think we were connected. And I think one of those reasons that we were connected like that was just because people really bought into telling their story. And it was so powerful to kind of hear and learn about everybody.
And I'll just say, I know some people have anxiety about having to speak in front of people and stand up and give a presentation and that kind of thing. And I think Carter used the word earlier, but it was a safe zone. And so even if you had anxiety about standing up in front of people, and unfortunately, we only got, I think, one day where we did it in person. The rest of ours, because I was class 2, we did it online via Zoom. But even then, people have anxiety, but like Jeff said, we developed such relationships and what we learned about each other that, for those of us that were kind of giving our presentations later in the season or our sessions, you really did feel safe about, what you were talking about, and people would reach back out to you and say, oh my gosh, you went through that, or you had that, or whatever. And it was just, like Jeff said, I mean, we just really bonded over all of those. And so if anybody has anxiety about standing up and talking in front of people, don't, because it really was good.
And I think for somebody from class 2 chime in, but and Abby class 1, I felt like, because Abby and I went like class 2, like the day 2 of our class, we were like, we're doing our presentations, and mine was not surface level, neither was Abby's, but by class 6, we were in a whole different level of deep, because as each class or as each session went on, people got even more and more comfortable with sharing, and really got, like Jeff was saying, I mean, we dug real deep, and it was really cool to see where people took their journeys, or where their journeys took them.
And I didn't necessarily take that leadership journey experience and mimic it here in my office with my team, but how we were able to interact as a class was something that I could take back to my office and say, I have seen the growth in this ALV class because of this type of experience. How can I replicate that back at my office so that our CAR team feels just as bonded and closely affiliated, so that we want to support each other? So you're not always going to have the very direct correlation, but you're going to be able to glean so many different skills and ideas from the activities that it makes it completely worth your time to be out of the office for those days. So yeah, I could keep going. I can't speak highly enough about the entire program. And I coming back on, I'm like, oh, I recognize those faces. It's so nice to see everybody. You create such a good cohort that you want to find excuses to get together so that you can share personal things and you can share more about your leadership styles or things going on in the office.
How, for the other alumni, how did it help you either in your current position or in your professional development, your association career?
Kind of based off what Abby said, I think the attention was there, but hearing our cohort's personal stories and like their leadership journeys, it made you sit back. And if you had someone in your office, like, wonder what their leadership journey is. I wonder how they got where they are today and why they have that behavior and that kind of thing. So it made you, like Abby said, it wasn't, no one in our office did their leadership journey, but it kind of made you step back and think and kind of pause before you had a reaction to maybe something that happened in your office.
Anybody else?
One thing I'll say is it made me learn a lot about myself. Because all of a sudden, when I had to stop and think about where I am now and how I got there, all kinds of changes in my life happened to me at a later age. And I was new to the association world. And so I was learning it from a whole different aspect. And but it helped me learn a lot about myself.
I will say that when Jennifer and I signed up through AGC, it was us and one of our other coworkers, Missy, that enrolled in the program. And now today, Carter has joined our team, Allie has joined our team, and Brandon is our CEO. So most of our team has gone through it. And I absolutely love that, because we refer back to ALV frequently. And once Brandon was on board with us, and this was before Carter came to us, but I got to present my leadership journey to our team internally through our association. And I loved sharing my leadership journey, because even though I've worked with these people for a couple of years and I've known Jennifer for years, there are things that we learned about each other that we had no idea. So I think it really puts things in perspective, to understand, especially about your coworkers, but other people in the industry as well. And I think overall with ALV, I don't know what I expected, but the outcome was tremendous. And I'm still seeing a lot of the outcome from it.
I think a lot of that, to chime in on what Rachel said, is due to the alumni community. And Abby touched on that. You know, it's exciting to log in and see people, or to see people at VSAE, and, you know, just the conversation immediately, or not, maybe not immediately, but at some point will go to ALV. And as the community continues to grow, that's only going to get stronger, which is one of the really cool things about this program. Is it really doesn't end, I guess, ever, but it definitely doesn't end with your graduation. You know, there are emails that have gone back and forth about us getting together for happy hour, or just hopping on a Zoom and just catching up. And we talked about it before, but there have been countless times that it's either come up within our own staff, or someone's picked up the phone and called or shot an email and said, hey, does anybody know the answer to XYZ, or does anybody have this resource? And so again, is that with each class, that alumni network is going to get bigger and stronger. And So I can't wait to see where that piece of it goes to.
Can you take a moment, Alumni, talk about the personal action plan component of leadership development? What is that? How did that benefit you? You all got quiet all of a sudden. What happened to the all good speakers?
I was trying not to do all the talking.
I'll talk. So I liked that personal action plan because you had a buddy. So basically you came up with some action items that you needed to work on, the tactics to do those things. And then you had a buddy. So you had somebody to hold you accountable. You met with that buddy. So it kind of held your feet to the fire, and you got to pick something that was related to your job, but it wasn't necessarily like directly related to your role, what you do every day. So it might have been like a big task that you had that was looming over you that you really haven't tackled yet. And so then you had somebody to kind of go along with you and work out the hard stuff and congratulate you on the easy stuff. So that was pretty cool.
I know Brandon's not on this call, but he and Michelle's not on it either, but they were buddies and they still talk and check in monthly. So to this day. And so I think he's told me that it was extremely beneficial. And even if it's a quick 10-minute check-in to see how things are going, they still continue to use that buddy system.
Yeah, so I think the action items were a really important design piece. So I can't say enough about the way that Tom and Melissa designed the program. It really does kind of build that, it sets that safe zone to build that camaraderie amongst your team. They also, like, if you look at that daily schedule, like it might seem a little daunting where you're like, geez, that's like 8 hours of professional training. I'm going to need a nap. But it really is, they chunk the day up so well. And I think the action item piece specifically is the piece that, like, so I came from a nonprofit that sort of had kind of association tendencies, which is kind of one of the things that attracted me to the program. But like, I definitely did not fit, even when I was at UNOS, into like everything that they were talking about specifically with association management. And so that action item piece was really important for me, that I was able to find things that did apply. And I think that's one of the, and I think Terry kind of asked me to talk about this a little bit. It's not like the stuff that I learned doesn't apply to my new job as a supplier. It does apply to the association piece, but the stuff that you're learning just applies to being a better person and a better leader in general. And I think my plaque's right behind me, but you can't see it. I don't have my camera turned exactly right. Maybe I should change it, right? But I think that the action item piece is the piece that really makes it personal for you, that like you have to pick something out of all of this training that you're like, I'm going to commit to doing this. And then your buddy's like, hell yeah, you're committing to doing that, because I'm going to make sure you do it the next time we talk. And so it really does sort of force you in a good way to complete the program and to really get as much out of the program as you can. Because, I've gone to professional development things before where like, I really didn't connect with the material, and it was really a waste of my time. That's not going to happen in this program. The way it's designed, you will engage. And I think that's just another piece that kind of really helps you do that.
So before we turn it over to our folks to ask questions, I have one last question for the alumni. If you were to give one piece of advice to those who are thinking about the program, what would that be?
Do it, don't hesitate.
I was just going to say that, Abby, do it.
That's going to be mine.
Yep. Just call us Nike today. Just do it. Yeah.
Like don't hesitate. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about if you're not at the right spot in your leadership journey, there is no right spot. There really isn't. I mean, we had somebody in our class who was literally building her retirement plan the entire way through. And we had folks who were like 2 years into their association career. There is no right time or wrong time. Just, I would say, dive in.
And Jeff also alluded to this, but I remember Jeff said the very first class, he was like, I've taken leadership classes before. I was just kind of see what this one's about. And like by the end of it, he was like, this is not like any other leadership journey or course or anything that I've ever taken before. I'm so glad I did this. So and it stood out to me because I am newish in my association career. So it was nice to see someone who had been in the industry and been in the association business to kind of see that they had been through others and this stood out. So I was appreciative to be in the course.
I appreciate you quoting me, Allie. That's great.
Anytime. I can tell more, I'm sure.
I think one thing that Terry, you mentioned that none of us really talked about was, and it kind of goes along with what Allie was saying. We bring in, or I say we, Tom and Melissa bring in different people from within the association community, and they are responsible for helping to deliver a particular part of the content. And so it blends really well with the leadership best practices. It hits home on those really important association specific topics, but it also really opens the door for some good conversations, and it sort of extends the network even farther, right? Because there are people that are further along in their association career that you may never speak to at a VSAE meeting, or your paths just may not cross on a regular basis. And you kind of get to know, like, some of them did their leadership journeys for us, and some of us really, or some of them just really focused on their specific role or their specific association or that specific piece of content. But it really, for me, opened the door. There was somebody that spoke for one of our sessions who I'd never ever see at a VSAE meeting, and I learned probably more from her than I learned from anyone. It was it was an amazing session. So that also can't be overstated, the value there as well.
Okay, so why don't, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was going to jump in with just a general comment. Just even this scenario right here about learning and trying to inquire and get to know colleagues is very indicative of what you're going to experience with ALV. I am still studying to get my CAE, and I can't connect with that learning process because it's all books. So I like what VSAE does and connects you with peers. And yes, I did the study group, but really what I appreciate most about VSAE is what they were able to offer through the ALV program. The personal connections for me works the best to meet people, talk through issues, have a network of people to go to when I have questions, and just generally enjoy each other's company. So the personalization, I think, is what really sets this leadership program apart from anything else that you'll find.
So Abby, you just mentioned CAE. I'm aware that several of the ALV participants have since gone on to earn their CAE. And I know for those who are on the call who are thinking about the program who are not CAEs, you do get over 30 hours of CAE credit for taking this program. And if that's something you would like to pursue, that is a significant portion of getting you to where you need to get to for your CAE. And if you have your CAE, it's almost going to get you to your renewal. I think it's 42 hours for renewal. So that would get you a very long way. So in addition to everything you gain from ALV, you get the added benefit of being able to take those hours and apply them to either your CAE renewal, or if you're thinking about getting your CAE. And again, I know several, in fact, I know a couple more just recently got their CAE who are graduates of the program.
Yeah. Class 1 had somebody who joined just to get the CAE credits as he was applying for the program. And I think he got so much more than just credits. I think he found himself another family of colleagues, and he really enjoyed the experience. So I might be speaking a little bit for Jerry, but I really enjoyed getting to know him. He was from Northern Virginia and would drive to every class into Richmond on his own dime because he wanted the experience. And I think that he gave so much to the class. So it's nice to not just stick within your own network of people in your immediate area. You'll be introduced to people from all over the state or even outside of the VSAE membership.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to questions. And if there are those who are on the on Zoom who would rather not ask the question out loud, you're welcome to use the chat as well. But our distinguished group of alumni here are raring and ready to answer any and all questions. I think you convinced everybody how
was
great a
gonna say-
program it is. They have no questions. Look at that.
No, my
Okay.
questions were
I
answered.
have a
through the-
practical question.
There you go.
So I was looking at the schedule of courses and the last day, the graduation day, I'm supposed to be in Scotland on a vacation. So
I'm sure your
um,
your classmates would enjoy going with you.
I mean, like it's already booked. So I didn't know if that would be an impediment. I didn't know what the last day involved.
And graduation. No, it would not be an impediment.
Okay.
It's going to happen. I'm sure it happened with the two alumni groups. You're all working professionals. I'm sure there's going to be a case where somebody's going to have a conflict. So, if you miss one, I think it's fine. I don't know if there was a hard rule, but I think we talked about one is fine. If it's more than that, then, or if you know for sure it's going to be more than that, then that's probably something we should talk about, but everybody's going to have at least one conflict probably over the course of 8 months.
Thanks.
But again, everybody is volunteering to go with you, Erin, to Scotland. So
Well, interestingly enough, one of my travel partners is Lisa Noon.
oh,
who-
okay.
That's my aunt.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I would think you'd want to miss Scotland for Hampton and the ALV graduation ceremony.
Maybe
That's
Lisa
a
can
close,
do it for me.
close.
It is close, right? It's right neck and neck. All right, good question. Other questions? Catherine, I saw you had jumped on earlier. Do you have a question or?
I was just saying that I didn't have a question because everybody addressed the questions that I was thinking it was taken care of. So thank you. It's very, very good information.
I will mention that we do have a scholarship program this year. One of the changes to the program is as part of VSA's DEI initiatives and really trying to help develop the future generation of leaders and bring in areas of the association community that traditionally been underserved in terms of leadership and development. We do have a scholarship program that will cover approximately half of the tuition. If that's something anybody's interested in, there's an application process. When you fill out your ALV application at the end, there's a question of ask, would you like to be considered for a scholarship? And then there's a couple of questions that you need to answer, and then that will be reviewed by a committee. Determine if folks will be eligible for scholarships or not.
How many folks are in each class?
So we are looking at 20, minimum of 20 to this, 20 to 22. I don't know. I don't remember how many were in the second class. I think the second class had around that number.
I think we were at
Pretty sure.
20.
20, yeah. And the first class, because it was the kickoff one, was a smaller class. Let's say it was maybe about a dozen or so. I don't. Anybody on first class, Carter, remember?
9 or 10.
Okay.
I think it was 9. I don't think we were at 10.
Such a quiet group.
Any other questions?
If there's no other questions, Carter's got about 20 more minutes that she can do on leadership.
No, I'm done.
Don't tempt her.
So,
He speaks the truth.
so if you don't have any at the moment, you think of them after we get off Zoom. First of all, this recording will be available. We'll share it to everybody who signed up for this, for this information session. In addition, there is information on the VSA website. And then certainly we can put you in contact with any of the alumni I know. The great folks who've been on this call, and there are many more who were not here today who would be more than happy to share their thoughts, views, their happy moments, the moments they all cried. No, just kidding. I'm sure it's all great.
There was a lot of crying in class one. It was all good crying.
Okay,
There was a
good
lot of
crying.
it.
Okay, good crying. All right. Well, they'll be happy to share it with you. Again, anything we can answer, but the registration deadline is coming up. It's August 15th. If you have any questions on just filling out the form of that, you can certainly reach out to me. But if nobody has any other questions, last chance. All right. Well, thanks to everyone who participated, both those who are thinking about the program, I know we have a couple folks on who are already registered for the program. And thank you to our alumni for participating and sharing their perspective on the program. Everybody have a great day, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.